Hello, this is Moog, and welcome to part 2 of my Discord JS comment tutorial. What I want to go over with you today is a little bit more in depth on the comments that I showed in part 1 and how they work and what it actually looks like in the channel to kind of help you decide which way and which um, version of the different comment styles work best for what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and go into this. So I'm under the assumption that you've already built the skeleton of your bot, so I'm not going to go over that stuff. And I've kind of set up a little gamut of stuff for us to go over so that I can show you easily. Now, the first thing I want to point out though is this lesson bot.once and .on. Okay, so lesson bot is my client. I like to name client an actual name. I know in a lot of videos and a lot of other programs, they like using client for new Discord.client, and I think that's dumb, but that's just me. So all of mine say the name of my bot. So .once and .on. These are listeners. And the reason I bring that up is because there's an error that you get if you have too many listeners, and the default is 10. You can expand that with a command, but it's not really necessary. And the reason I say that is because all of your comments that you put into your bot, if you're watching this, it's because you're trying to make your bot seem more alive. And all of the comments, all of these things that you are trying to catch by your bot can all be under one listener. And you can extend this indefinitely on down for as far as you want to. So you don't need to do more than one. And that is something that even I didn't realize at the beginning. And it wasn't until I hit 15 listeners that I started saying, okay, this can't be right. And but that at that point I was familiar enough with it that I realized I didn't need them all. So I just kind of condensed it. So let's get into this. The first thing I want to talk about is the standard comment. So this if statement is saying that message.content equals hello lesson bot. Now, the thing I want to point out is that this string right here is an exact spelling. I have capital H, I have capital L, and I have capital B. If I go into Discord, let me make sure the bot is running. And then we're going to do, it's probably going to work. Okay. If I do hello lesson bot, he's going to reply with hello at Moog. I'm ready to work. Okay. But if I type in hello without a capital H, and I still, that's funny. My bot just got to prove me wrong. Where in the world did I put it in as another sentence? Oh, I didn't. So what's happening here is because the code is broken, it's picking it up somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is disable that stuff. So if you ever feel like you've got a problem, you can actually use / to cancel out your code bit by bit to make sure that you find what is not working, which comes in kind of handy. Downside is you got to do each line, which is kind of annoying, but you got to do what you got to do, right? So once all these are locked out, you can test it again. We're going to go ahead and block this one out. All right, so it should say it's working. Okay, so now I'm gonna reset my bot. And believe me, you do this a lot while you're doing this. It's kind of crazy, so that's why I'm not editing that out. So you do hello lesson bot. Make sure he's working. Okay, he's working. So now I'm gonna do hello, and we're gonna do lesson bot, and it doesn't work. Okay, that's exactly what I expected. It's doing something right now. Something's broken, which obviously, based on what I just had to do with my code here by blocking it all out, it's obvious it doesn't work. Okay, so that's very specific. And in some cases, sure, you want a specific scenario, but not always. There's a lot of different situations where you need multiple variations of the same sentence in order to get the response that you want. And that's where the or comments come in. Now, some of you are probably going to know these as a more official terms. I don't use official terms. I really just don't care enough to use official terms. So I make up my own. And if you don't like it, then shame on you. Okay, so once I get this in here. So this one here is what I call or comments. So when I first started doing this, and I explained this in the first video, is I was doing an or and then just the next string, which is absolutely wrong. It's poor syntax. It doesn't work. You've got to use message.content equals after each or symbol. Fine. And what this line is actually doing is it's giving me three possible scenarios of three different spellings. I've got how are you with a capital H and a question mark, how are you without a capital and a question mark, and how are you with no caps and no question mark. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot the bot again. Control C, no dot, he's ready. So go back in here and totally forget what it is I'm looking for. I'm doing how are you? Okay, so let's do this. So the first one is how are you? Question mark. Doing just fine. Okay, I'm gonna do the second one. How are you? Question mark. Working just fine. If I do how are you, works as well. Let's say I do how are you doing? It's not gonna work because again, it's very specific. And when you're in a server with a lot of people, the more specific it is, the more likely someone's going to find a way of saying something that does not work. And trust me, I see it on a regular basis. So this works for specific things. Like if you saw in my first video, I used a similar version of this to make the fortune telling because I didn't want the bot to pull up every time someone used the word fortune. I only wanted it to do it when they put in a complete string with the word fortune in it. So I made a lot of different variations of the same thing. So what if I want to pick up a very specific word, okay, in a general string? So let's turn this off. So else if, this is the includes command. So message.content.includes, okay, we're going to say how, all right. So by saying message.content includes, it is going to look for strings of any type that have HOW in it. Okay, so let's reset the bot. Make sure I save. Reset the bot, Control C, no dot, up and running, and we're gonna let's just type how. And it says you got this. Okay, so I'm gonna say how are you doing? He's gonna say you got this. Okay, but what if I say how are you? How about how are you? Doing just fine. Now, if you notice, he's answering for one, but not the other, and it's giving you unpredictable results because how is listed two different places. So you don't want to use the same word in multiple content listeners. You want to minimize that as much as you can. So if you see similarities like that, you're going to get weird and unexpected results and multiple entries from your bot. You want to try to avoid that. So if I wanted to expand on the how are you, I would use a different format to get the desired results. Okay, so we're going to say, it says, you got this. I said, I don't know. I'm going to just say no. Okay, no is our new word. So file, save, and I'm going to reboot the bot again. Now, when I type in no, it says you got this. Okay, and if I say I know, it says you got this. If I say you know, you got this. If I say you know what I mean, it says you got this. But here's the problem with this specific includes is let's say I say knowledge. It says you got this. even though no is part of a word. So there's where you run into a problem. Let's say that you were using a bot to scan for dirty words. You know, let's take DP, for example. If you were to put that into this comment string as a listener, it's going to pull up every possible word that has D and P touching together, okay? Which is a problem because you're going to flag people for words that are not inappropriate. So you have to be really careful about using includes. And the best use of includes is actually double words. So if I'm doing message.content.includes, I'm going to say one of the listeners is capital I, no. And then I'm going to, inside here, space for message.content.includes, lowercase I, no. Okay. So now I'm listening for two very specific words in a whole sentence. All right. So now let's save again. Reset the bot. Back in here. If I say, I know, it says you got this. So I know something. You got this. I know something. What if I say I knowledge? You got this. Because the string, you can see it, is spaced out. I know ledge. Okay. But if I say it's knowledge, it won't happen. Okay. So what you've done is you've narrowed down the possibilities of the bot responding to something that you didn't intend it to. And the more that you can condense that, the more you can reduce those possibilities, the more lifelike your bot is going to become. Okay. So sometimes it just takes trial and error. But it's a good example of how that works. Now, what's nice about this includes is I can do more than just I know. I can do as many ors as I want. I can keep going and say message.content.includes. Let's just say yeah. Okay. So when I say capital I know or lowercase I know or yeah, it's going to give me the same responses in the chat. Say yeah. Of course. You're going to prove me wrong? Yeah, it's because I didn't reset the bot. You got to remember, you got to reset the bot each time. Yeah, there you go. You got this. Okay. So if I go back, the next I want to talk about is multiple choices. Now, the bot right now is just saying you got this. Well, what if I want a specific word, phrase, listen, or content to trigger multiple choices? Okay, so that's where we're going to take this, enable this one. All right. So else if message.includes, we're going to say yes. We're going to say or message.content.includes sure, or message.content.includes what's another word for yes? Yes, sure. Okay. But see, okay is dangerous because okay will go into many other things. So remember that going into your choices. All right. Then once you've established what you want your triggers to be, which are these strings, I have to reiterate because it's not the proper term. I call them triggers because they're things that trigger your bot to say a different thing. So I have 3 triggers here. The first thing you need to do is set up a variable for messages. Okay, things you want your bot to say. I'm going to say, he says yes. Our bot's going to say no. He's going to say maybe. He's going to say not even. Let's make him say wish. And let's give him one more. That's 4. Let's give him a 5th one. And we're going to say not even likely. Okay. So now we have 5 different possibilities. And then what you do is you create a variable random messages. So random messages is the variable that you're going to dump the formula, which is messages brackets math.floor, math.random star, or multiplication message.length. Now, I do strongly recommend that you kind of look online for different formulas. There's a lot of different ones. I know there's math.round, math.ceiling. Each has their own plus or minuses as far as how they work. I use floor because 1, it's the one I'm most familiar with, but 2, because it's, to me, more predictable results. I don't know if that's accurate or not. It's just my opinion. Okay. And then message.channel.send random message, and then a dot catch for cancel console error. Okay. So let's go ahead and save and reset the bot. And let's take a look at this. Okay. So if I say yes, he just said maybe. If you look over here, maybe is the second option. Let's just say yes again, not even, yes again, wish, yes again, not even, yes again, not even, you wish, no. So as you can see, it is pretty random. I mean, you can, out of 5 choices, yes, you're going to say the same things over and over again. The more choices you put in there, or possibilities, the more random it's going to feel and the less repetitious. A lot of my bot responses, if you paid attention in the first video, were very large. There's a lot of different scenarios, and I do plan on building it. Right now, it was just the framework, and what I'm trying to do is continue to build upon that as I go. But that should answer the questions about creating it to be variable. Okay, so now what if you want your bot to not respond to something unusual? Like right now, if I say, oh, Oklahoma, I'm going to pretend like that's how you spell that. He's going to answer because okay is in it. If I'm going to say yes, sir, he's going to respond to it. So I'm getting random responses to words that are within larger words in this by using includes. So there is a way to stop that. If you one is to use double words like I did up here. I know it, yeah. Using double words, especially if they're full words that you don't typically find in larger words, you're going to have a lot more success with that. But if you still can't quite get what you want, the next thing to use is dot split. And I talked about this in the video, the first video, dot split. It took me a long time to find that answer because apparently nobody likes to share. But I'm sharing with you because I think that's crap. So if you look, first, you need to create a variable within an array, or create an array within a variable. Sorry, flipping around. Okay, so I'm using taco as an example. So taco, comma, and we're going to say capital taco, and we're going to, actually, I think I'm only going to stick with taco and taco. Those are 2 different variables. I'm looking for that very specific word, you know. Um, I'm going to make up a word that has the word taco in it as an example, but you'll see what I mean. So once you do that, create a variable message split. That is message.content.split. And then what you're doing is just parentheses with open quotations inside of it. Okay, you don't need to go beyond that. Don't put anything in there because you're dumping it into this variable here, message split. And then you're going to use message split dot includes the word taco. Okay, you can use the formatting and everything that I've used here to build your bot if you would like. That's not going to bother me any. Um, once you do that, make sure that you put in the if statement that if it's a message.author return, so your bot's not responding to itself. And then in here, you create another variable, messages, and you create an array of the things you want the bot to say. So just like we did up here where we had multiple choices, okay, we want multiple choices down here. So we're going to say, oh, it's so hard to think of things on the fly. We're going to say, here you go. I'm going to say, I wish I could do more, because he's a sad little bot. And let's give it a third one. We're going to say, but I do like doing nothing. Okay. So we have 3 different possible scenarios for these 2 words. Okay. So what message.split is going to do, if you remember from the first video, it's going to take a string. Let's just use this one as an example. It takes a string, it divides up each individual word by spaces and dumps it into an array. Okay. And then when you do the variable includes, your call word or your variable taco, which is these 2 taco versions of that array, it's going to compare them. If it comes about positive, it's going to give you a result. If it comes about negative, nothing's going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and file save, reset the bot one last time, then go into the channel and start off by saying taco, make sure it works, but I do like doing nothing. And we're going to do capital taco, but I do like doing nothing. Well, I'll do it again and see if we get a different answer. I wish I could do more. So there you go. Okay, but now if I do taco via, doesn't work because message.split prevents the bot from reading taco in word. It has to be a word of its own, a word if included within the array that you created in the first variable. That is very key. From what I've seen, this way of doing the bot has the most effective means of giving your bot personality without having unusual or undesired results. I do have a combination depending on what I want it to do, but I would say 90% easily is this specific type of code. And I just expand on it. I pick a couple of words that I am trying to target, and then I give the bot an unusually large amount of responses that are uniquely qualified to answer that specific word. So if I have someone say, um, that they're really tall, I'm going to have my bot say, wow, that's weird that you're that tall, or good for you that you're super tall. Well, who is super small. Whatever it is, I give them enough unique lines that they can say to create the sense that the bot is a living member of the server. And that makes it a lot more interesting. So this should give you more than enough ammunition to make your bot feel random and interesting and fun to play with, fun to talk to. And the more you build on it, the more that you add to it, the more variables or strings that you add into the bot's messages. For example, right here, the more realistic it's going to become. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. Other than that, thank you for watching and look for my next video.